Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, we're going to be making this guy. And this is my ghost witch. That's what I call it. So, it's a ghost and a witch all at the same time. So this is what we're going to be making today. That's why I got my bare table, so that you can see the white. You're going to need safety eyes. And then that's just sewn on, so. But you will need safety eyes. The yarn I use, so this is sparkly. It's from Red Heart, I think. Both my yarns are from Red Heart. But they're also both only 3 weights. So this is actually this might come in a 4 weight. I'm not sure. Mine's only 3. I think this is from Red Heart, but I don't know. It's just leftover stuff. I don't have the tags, but I'm going to use both of these together because this is sparkly and I wanted the sparkly. So everything's slippery because I don't have my tablecloth on here. I'm going to use a 5mm or an H hook to do this with. So let's get started with a magic ring. So you're going to put 8 single crochets inside this magic ring. That's 8. That seemed to be very difficult for some reason. So you will need a stitch marker. So round 1, you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. We're making this amigurumi style. So there is no slip stitching, no chaining too. Just go right into your stitch. So your first stitch gets your marker. Then you can put your second stitch in that same space. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet, that gets your stitch marker. Then your next stitch gets the increase, and your increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. So yeah, it's going to get squishy, but it'll be worth it. And repeat that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. At the end you should have 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's 1 single crochet. That's 2 single crochets. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So repeat this all the way around, and at the end you should have 32 stitches. Following the screen prompts, you can do your 1 single crochet in each stitch after this, and I'll see you on the other side. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. So that's number 1. Always number 1 with the stitch marker. That's number 2 and that's number 3. 3 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So repeat this all the way around, and at the end you should have 40 stitches, and then follow your screen prompts. So at the end of this you should have 40 stitches, and then you're going to do 9 rows of just 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then I'll meet you back after our 9 rows is done. So like I said, follow the screen prompts. I say stuff wrong all the time, but so this is what it should look like that. So we're going to start to decrease, and we're going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease. So there's 1. So that's 3 single crochets, and then your decrease is you're going to go into this stitch, you're going to grab some yarn and pull through. You're going to go into the second stitch, grab some yarn and pull through. You should have 3 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. That's a decrease. So repeat. 3 single crochets and a decrease. So repeat this all the way around and you'll have 32 stitches when you're done. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and that'll take you down to 24 stitches. So that is number 1. That's 2 single crochets and then your decrease. So repeat this all the way around, and then you can do your next round of 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. Follow the screen prompts and I'll meet you on the other side. So you could probably put some stuffing in this before we continue any further. We're building the head onto the body, so now to keep him nice and round, I like to just push it out like that and then fill the center. So try not to overstuff, because you want him to be able to, you don't want the bottom too round, because you want him to be able to sit on his own when he's fully built. Like this guy just sits up on his own. So you can make actually 2 or 3 different sizes and have them have different mouths, so you can have, you know, the whole setup for Halloween. Anyway, that's just an idea. So I don't really want to put too much more stuffing in it for a number of different reasons. I also don't want to struggle to crochet. Sometimes it's hard to hold. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. So that's 1 single crochet. Then your decrease. So when you repeat, after you repeat this all the way around, you should have 16 stitches left. So, like I said, we're going to start to increase now. So we're going to do a 1 single crochet increase. It's just going to be a gradual. It's not going to be a huge big thing. I don't want his head to be that ginormous. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your increase of 2 single crochet in the same space. So this brings you back up to 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochet and an increase. So this is going to bring you up to 32 stitches, and then you're going to do 5 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 32 stitches. So again, you're going to have to follow the screen prompts. So that's 1 with the marker, 2 single crochets, and then an increase of 2 in the same stitch, and repeat. And remember to stuff as you go. Whatever's easier on you. So that's my 5 rows. So now you can put more stuffing in this. We're going to start decreasing. So I just want to make sure that neck part is filled really good. I'm not going to continue up till after. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. So this is 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then your decrease. So repeat that all the way around, and when you get to the end you should have 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. That's your 1 single crochet. And then your decrease. So you repeat this all the way around. And at the end you should have 16 stitches. And then you can do 1 single crochet in each of those 16 stitches. So I thought I'd stuff my head before I closed it up, because the last round that we're going to do here is going to close the head up. And I don't know if you stuff along while you work. I don't, because it's just very hard for me to hold on to. I find it very awkward. So I thought I'd put some stuffing in. And then we got to put some eyes on. So, before I keep stuffing it, I just want to put some eyes on. Move your thing to the back. So I did about between the 9th and the 10th row, counting up from the neck. I use these safety eyes. You can find them at Amazon. And I'm pretty sure my last ghost I used these 12 millimeters. Alright, between the 9th and the 10th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So up here, that seems high to me. I know we're putting one more row in here, but one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that's where I put them, so there's only 2 stitches in between them. So we can put your backs on. Cutie! So we do the mouth after. We'll close up the head. And put a bit more stuffing in there. Alright, so most people just do decrease, decrease, decrease to close it up. But I'm going to do a 1 single crochet decrease that brings you down to 10 stitches, and then we can sew just finish sewing the rest of the 5. There, take the stitch marker out and go into the next stitch. You can slip stitch, fasten off. So you need to fasten off with enough to sew with, and weave. If you feel that you need more stuffing, you could probably still get some stuffing down there. Generally I do, but this time around I don't. So we're going to go every other stitch, in and then out. Generally I do every stitch. This guy's going to have a hat on. It doesn't really matter what he looks like. So you're only going in under 1 piece of yarn. Don't need to go under any more than that. Skip one and then go out the other one. That's my all the way around, and then just pull. I could probably have used more stuffing, but that's fine. So once it's closed, just come across. You want to make a knot so it doesn't continue to open, which it's already trying to do. Go through that loop, and then when you pull back and forth, and that tightens that knot right up. And now you can just weave. Again, doesn't matter what the head looks like. There's a hat going on it. So he's kind of on a flat top head. I should have probably put more stuffing in a little bit, but go in as close as you can to your tail, just so it looks like a stitch. So when you pull, it's just going to look like a stitch. Try to go in different directions, so if anything does happen, it tries to pop open. It kind of has multiple directions, and then this goes for sewing on arms and legs and stuff like that. Sewing on anything really. If you pull too tight, just stick something in the holes and pull it back out. So if I was sewing on an arm or anything, here I would tie a knot, but I'm just sewing a head close, so I'm just gonna snip it off. So let's do these little scallops on the bottom. Was the whole point of me doing this was to make it look like he was floating, or she was floating, or so. Make a slip knot. You're gonna wanna attach, so attach at the back. Your decision on where you want to go in here. Really, I don't know. I actually didn't write down where I went in to make my ruffles, but go in and attach with a single crochet. So you're going to make stitches first off, all along, all around. You're just making stitches. So you got to go in and pick up a post, pull through and make a stitch. Go to the next post, pick that up, and make a stitch. So you're going to do this all the way around to the other side. Or till, well, the other side till you come back around to here. So when you come back around, you're going to notice that it's off because of the way we built this in a spiral. So it's so easy peasy to fix and you won't even notice, but you're going to go down on a diagonal like that. You're going to make a stitch. Then you're going to slip stitch to your first chain that you made. And you can't even tell. I know right now we're still attached, but trust me, you won't be able to tell that that even happened. But there's, you know, going to be a little. That's why I said to do it at the back. So, if you struggle with this, you could have used a 4mm hook. I used a 4mm for this one, but it just seems really small. So, this one I thought I'd use a 5. See how it works. So, once you've slip stitched, you can chain 2. We're going to do double crochets. So I want you to do your first stitch, 3 double crochets. And get in there. All in the same stitch. So 3 double crochets all in the same stitch. Sorry, I don't even know if I was on camera. You're going to skip 1, you're going to go into this stitch and you do a single crochet. And then immediately the stitch right after you're going to put 3 doubles. So that's going to be your repeat. So 3 doubles all in the same space. Skip 1. Go into the next space and do a single crochet. So that's what you're gonna get, which I think actually looks better than the last one I did. Sorry. So that's what you're gonna get, which I think actually looks better than the last one I did. It just seemed like it was too small. This seems way better. So continue on around with this. And I will see you on the other side. So I'm back around and I do have a couple of stitches. And I have a skip 1 and a single crochet here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to slip stitch, actually I'm going to slip stitch into the second chain. So it shouldn't look too horrible. You can fasten off. You just need enough to weave decently. Sometimes it's awkward to work with two pieces. There we go. So you can see that that's where you've started right now, which is why I wanted it at the back. So go down into this next stitch and then just kind of find your way down into the bum. Give a snug little pull so that indents, so it looks like it's part of the scallop. And then now that you're in the bum, you can kind of weave in and out wherever you want. I call this the bum, even though it's not a bum technically. It's where he stands. Anyway, I think those look better than that. These just seemed really small. That looks way better. But that's what you're going to get with a 4mm, and this is what you get with a 5mm. So, way better, I think, anyway. So, just weave a couple of times. It's not super important. Snip that off. And then this guy, you can just stick right down into the... Stick him right down. So I just got a little bit, little fuzzy to cut off. There we go. So, next we will do his, let's just do the hat next. So we're still using a 5mm to make a magic ring. I'm going to put 4 single crochets into this ring. So I'm building from the top down. So you're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. Getting into this first stitch is always fun. So that's 1 single crochet. You don't really need a stitch marker because you're only doing this twice. But I just want to show you the right way, I suppose. So 1 single crochet and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And again, 1 single crochet, and last stitch gets 2 single crochets for the increase. So the reason I jumped right into a 1 single crochet increase is for the point of the hat. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So this is number 1 with your stitch marker. You should have 6 stitches. Next stitch gets 1 single crochet. So that's 2 single crochets. And then the next stitch gets increase. You're going to do this twice as well. And then you can flip it right side in. So repeat 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. Now we can turn it. Pull your middle closed. You can kind of just shape it. So for the next 2 rounds, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch. You should have 8 stitches. So just count to 16. That's 16 for me. I am going to cut this off a little bit. And tuck those down inside, because they're going to annoy me if I don't. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That brings you up to 10 stitches. I wanted it to be long on top, you know, like a witch's hat. That's why, another reason I chose to do it like this. So that's 3 single crochets and your increase. Three single crochets and your increase. So now you should have 10 stitches. You're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 10 stitches. So I'm just going to count to 10. That's 10. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1 with your marker. Two, 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So that brings you up to 12 stitches. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. That brings you up to 24 stitches. So we're going to get the cap done. And we have to be aggressive about it. So after the first stitch, you're going to put your stitch marker in. Then you can put your second stitch in. So this is going to get squishy. So 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. And then your next round after that will be 1 single crochet in each stitch. That's 1 single crochet. And then your increase. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. Now I don't have numbers for you. I didn't write numbers down because it's just hat. So some people are just, if it looks like a hat and everything looks perfectly fine, I don't really care what my numbers are. So I guess I didn't think about writing them down when I was doing this. I cared about what my numbers were on this guy. I didn't care what my numbers were on here. I think I have 35 or 36 stitches. I don't know. So your next round is 2 single crochets and an increase, and then your 1 single crochet in each stitch. I'll count this one so I can at least tell you something. but I don't focus on my numbers. I focus on what it looks like. So that's my 2 single crochets. My next stitch is an increase, and I know it's getting squishy and more difficult to work with, but we're just about done. 2 single crochets and an increase. So I counted 48. So your next round is 3 single crochets and an increase, and then you can do your 1 single crochet after that, and then fasten off if you want to work ahead. I'll put my screen up for you. It's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and 3 single crochet. I knew that was going to happen. And then your increase, 2 in the same space. So this is super squishy, but the 1 single crochet in between rounds makes it easier. So I'm done my 1 single crochet in each stitch around. I got 61 stitches, which doesn't sound right. It sounds like it should be 60. Anyway, that's your hat. I know it's funny looking, but I wanted a great big brim on it. But it does look funny looking. It looks fine when it's on the ghost. Anyway, go into your next stitch. You're going to fasten off. So fasten off with a sewing tail. Because I have to sew this bad boy to the head. You don't need a whole pile or anything. But after you sew it, you want to be able to weave it too. So there's no way that this sucker's coming off. So, go into your next stitch from the bottom part. I want you to pull this through to the underside. I can just kind of pull up and... So you can bend this because we made it with 2 pieces. You can bend this and mold this and have it shaped. That's kind of Mexican. Because we made it with 2 pieces of the yarn. So I want you to... I might have pulled a little too tight. Weave down. Now try not to go through the other side of the hat. You don't want to see this, so you just want to weave down through the pieces of yarn on this side. You're yanking on that. So you can put stuffing in that if you want. Might actually put a little, just so it doesn't collapse on you or anything. I don't think it will, but better to be safe than sorry. Not like it's gonna fall out. Pack it right down in there. Why, this little hole takes quite a bit. We're not stuffing the arms except for the ends of them, so we're kind of doing the same thing. Just stuff in the tip. So you'll be able to fix his hat. So you just need to decide, is he gonna be one of these guys? Is he gonna be one of these guys? Is he gonna be one of these guys? So I think I'm gonna make him mysterious looking. So I'm just going to go down into the head and up through the hat. I mean, you can probably find your own way to sew him on. So I'm just going down and out and just picking up some of his head. There's not a whole lot of options to sewing it on, but so I'm going to go down as close as I can to the tail because I just want this to look like a stitch up here. Go down there. So I'm just grabbing some of the head and I'm popping out to the other side of the hat. So just go back and forth a couple of times. You should be good. So once it's sewn on and you're pleased, you can weave in and out, back and forth, different directions. So if anybody does pull on this hat, they're not getting it off the head. So for added security, I think I have way too much. I always have way too much yarn. Cut some of this off. I waste more yarn doing that. So tie a knot for added security, just in case one of your grandkids comes over or the dog gets a hold of it. Whatever's gonna happen, you might as well be prepared. So make a knot. It doesn't have to be a tight knot, just a knot. Cut off a little bit, leaving a tail. You're gonna jam that knot down into the stuffing. So theory is it's supposed to get, if something does pull on this, that knot's supposed to get stuck in the stuffing. So, and now you can just shape your hat any way that you want to shape your hat. There we go. I know it's hard to see right now, but I'm going to fold my rim up a little bit. So we'll get some arms done. Those are pretty quick, and then the last thing to do is make a little nose and make a mouth, and then we're finished. So I made the arms with a 4mm hook because when I did it with a 5, they just seemed really big, and so I used 4 because I'm still using 2 pieces of yarn. The reason I'm still using 2 pieces is because I didn't want to stuff these. I just stuffed the tips. I didn't want to stuff these, but I didn't want them to be that floppy either. So anyway, make a magic ring with your 4mm or your G. You're going to put 6 single crochets. I keep hitting my camera. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing you around. It's one of those days, you know? One of those days where everything feels awkward and weird. So you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, bringing your count up to 12 stitches. So you can just count to 12. You don't need a stitch marker, but if you're going to use one, put it in after the first stitch goes in, not the second. So that's my 12. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 12 stitches. So again, I'm just going to count to 12. That's 12. So you can flip it right side in. So I'm going to decrease. So I'm going to do a 1 single crochet decrease. You can put your stitch marker in now. I'm going to take you down to 8 stitches. And that's really all I needed the arms to be. That's my 1 single crochet with my marker. So your next is going to be the decrease. And repeat. 1 single crochet. Decrease. 1 single crochet. Decrease. And one more. So this part that we just did, that's your hand, and that's where you're going to stuff. So pull your middle closed, because you're going to see that on the outside. I'm just going to stick this down in there so it doesn't drive me nuts. And for the next 10 rows, you should have 8 stitches. So for the next 10 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 8 stitches. Then you can fasten off, and you can sew your top shut, and then you can make your other arm. I'm going to put the screen up after. I'm going to meet you back here after we're done our 10 rows and show you what I want you to do with the arm, and then you can go make your other one. Because it's not going to take, oh, I'm all tangled. It's not going to take very long at all to do these 10 rows. So that's my 10 rows. I stuffed the bottom already, so I am just gonna slip stitch and fasten off. So you need a sewing tail. Pull this through. Go into the next stitch and you're going to pull that through. The reason being is when we sew the top shut, for some reason I can't seem to pull it through. Reason being, when we sew the top shut, I don't want you to have a big bump. If you don't pull that through, you're going to have a bump. So fold the top with this at the side. You're just going to whip stitch this. Sort of. Not quite a whip stitch, but a whip stitch would be back loop to back loop. Get the back loop. This is just going to be stitch to stitch. So we're not actually whip stitching. I don't sew very well, so don't take sewing lessons off of me. But this doesn't have to be pretty. You're just sewing the top shut to make it easier to sew to the ghost witch. I didn't know what else to call it. It's just an idea that popped into my head, so I did it. I made one. So it's up to you where you want your arm. You can have it, you know, you can have your arm like that, which means you got to sew it on a diagonal. You can have your arm just hanging down like that. Don't sew the underside though. We're just sewing the top, because if you sew the underside, it's going to stick out, and you don't want it to stick out. So hopefully you have a needle like that has a hooked end on it to do invisible stitches. So go down as close as you can to the arm, pick up some of the doll, and then come back up through the arm. So that stitch is going to get sucked in underneath. It's hard to show you. So you're going to go in as close as you can to the arm, pick up the doll, and by pick up the doll I mean stick your needle down into the doll and then come up through the arm, and then this stitch gets sucked underneath. And you pull tight. So you have to distort your doll a little bit, but it's worth it. It gives a nice good hold and you can't really see the stitches, so it's hard to show you on camera, so I probably didn't do a very good job. So once you come back around, go down into the corner of that arm and you're gonna just pop out somewhere. And you're gonna weave. Hopefully you don't do what I just did. So I'm gonna pull. I am having a horrible day. So I'm gonna pull and I'm gonna kind of squeeze just so it kind of opens up the squish a little bit so it's not so squishy like that. Oops. Anyway, once you're satisfied with how your arm is sewn on, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do anyway. You don't have to follow my directions. Mine are all just suggestions. You're just gonna weave in and out, back and forth, different directions. And in case somebody tugs on that arm, you can tie a knot and poke it down. So not only does this go in different directions, you're gonna have this knot. Don't make it a tight knot though, because if it's a tight knot, it's just gonna get pulled through. Make it a loose knot. So I'm just gonna pop out where I pulled too tight again. I'm having one of those days, you know? There. So you can go ahead and make your second arm and get it sewn on, and I'll meet you right back here after. So I am just going to use one piece of the white to make the nose. So you want to take a needle with this hook, the one I've been using this whole time. Tie a knot in the one end, so the knot will act the same way that knots do when we tie them and stick them in here. It should get stuck in the thing. So we're making the nose out of white because we want it to not be noticeable, but to be noticeable. So I'm gonna just, you can go in wherever you want. I can come up through here if I wanted to, which I'll do just to show you. You can go in wherever you want. It's where you come out that makes a difference. So I just came out right about here. I'm gonna go back through, trying to keep it even. It's gonna be hard to show you on camera a little bit. I'm gonna pull and I'm gonna squeeze at the same time. And then I'm gonna go back through again. I'm gonna, oops, back through and come out the same hole. Not quite in the middle of my face. Anyway, and then just go just below it. And you're just gonna do the same thing. Back and forwards, back and forwards. So when you pulled tight there, you made a little bit of a bump. And when you squeezed, you made a little bit of a bump. Can you see? It's so hard to see. Anyway, just kind of keep following that bump and pulling. Anyway, once you're satisfied with what your nose looks like, you can just go in and pop out wherever you're going to pop out. So you got a knot here. You want to tie a knot here. You don't have to be that anal about bringing that knot as close as you can to the head, because ultimately you're jamming it down anyway. So and then just jam that down, and then I could probably cut some of this off. Don't need a great big tail on it. And then just jam him down into the stuffing. My hat's all out of shape again. So there's the little nose on the guy. So we can do a little mouth. So you just need a little piece of black. You're gonna do the same thing, tie a knot on the one end. Just one knot is all it takes. I did this guy a little bit differently, not as big, but that's how I did that. So I have two mouths now that are different. So I don't want my mouths to be all the same. There's your little spooky ghost witch. So two that are different. I did the bottoms different. That's with a 5mm. That's with a 4mm. So I like this one better. But I have to say, I like both their faces, but I like his mouth better. But I like his nose better. So they never turn out the same when you make them. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. And I'll see you in the next video.